a song for you.
You're listening to Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast. I will do one episode for each song the band recorded in the studio. However, this is a fan podcast and not band endorsed. It's more of a tribute to their long history, well beyond just the hits, and my way of giving something back to a band that has given so much to me. Let's dig in! Hello and welcome to another episode of Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast, the first bonus episode, and it's really out of control because here's what's going on behind the scenes. I'll get to that first, and then we'll get into the song. The software that I use, Cakewalk by BandLab, who I've been with since sometime in the 90s when it was owned by 12-tone systems, made me convert from the digital or the analog world to digital, and started making my life much easier and somewhat more difficult at the same time. Has now is in the process of disabling the software that I've been using for years and creating a new version of it because they said they would never charge for the software we use when they bought it from Gibson. So what they've done is they've just switched us over to another product that they can now charge for. However, they do offer a free version. So far, it looks like crap, but it seems to be working about the same as the other one. So this is my first time recording with the new software. Please let me know if you hear any differences in the audio quality or anything at all, other than just the fact that we're listening to a song that we've never listened to before on the podcast, because so far, the tests that I've done seem fine, but I want to see if you guys are noticing anything. So please do let me know. Now, I've already recorded many future episodes, so you won't hear me record on this software again for a while. But anything that really stands out, just let me know. Will you please? I would appreciate that. Now, speaking of Bizarre Land, let's get into what the hell's going on, why I'm doing a bonus episode, what it's all about. So when I was going through and double checking all of the albums to make sure that I knew all the recorded Deep Purple tracks, I was very confident I knew all of them, and I might have gone through them a little too quickly. I might have thought that this track was just a jam. I honestly don't remember. The name does not ring a bell to me. It does sound kind of like just a title that you would throw on something, to be honest. Anytime I hear a city name in a title, especially LA, because it's so cliche, right? Oh, they're trying to be LA. They're trying to talk about LA. They're trying to get your attention by saying it's LA related. How many movies open up with the skyscape of LA? We just need to let you know we're shooting in LA. It does get a bit tired. And I have to think even in 1974, it was already getting old. I'm sure there were plenty of movies and things that were referencing LA to try and draw attention to whatever's happening is happening around excitement and glamour and the glitz of Hollywood and whatever. So I probably brushed it off as a jam if I noticed it at all. So I'll be very honest. I don't recall the title, but considering that it's after all of the tracks, it's right before an Ian Pace and Tommy Bolin jam on the 35th anniversary CD of Come Taste the Band, I'm going to say I probably didn't realize it was like a full-on unrecorded song, or at least the backing track. We're going to find out. I still have not listened to it. We're going to go through this for the first time. I've never heard the track, so I'm very curious to hear what it's all about. So that's my guess as to why I didn't include it in the season. So when the final episode of season 11, going over the album Come Taste the Band, aired, I got this wonderful note on the Facebook page for Smoke on the Podcast. Feel free to follow that page, guys. Smoke on the Podcast on Facebook. Well, it's Deep Purple - Smoke on the Podcast, I think is what it actually is. But you'll recognize the logo from whatever pod player that you listen to the show on. So I got a nice little note over there from Duncan Leask saying, hey, I wanted to let you know there's a track you may have missed. And he goes, I haven't, unless you are going to cover it. And because I think I said in there that was a wrap for the season. So probably picked up on it through that. And he let me know about this track that we're going to go over today called Same in LA. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know anything about it. So I went and looked up on Discogs, the 35th anniversary edition of Come Taste the Band, and sure enough, there it was. Now, I did find it interesting because there are two versions of that reissue that came out. One is on CD and one is on vinyl. The vinyl version does not have this song or the Ian Pace and Tommy Bolin jam. It only has the studio tracks from the album. And that is a double LP. And then you have the CD version, which has these extra bonus tracks. So if you're a big fan of vinyl, obviously you're going to want to get Come Taste the Band on vinyl. But then you're like, oh shit, there's two more tracks. I better get the CD so I can check them out. So now you're going to buy them both. So great marketing anyway. I would imagine there just wasn't enough room. But yeah, so then close to an hour later, I get a message request on my my music and books Instagram page. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. I'll check it out. A lot of those that I get are fake. They're, oh, we think your brand is great for, modeling this jewelry or whatever. I'm like, I'm a fucking podcast that's not even visual. But yeah, I mean, sure, I'll pay all these fees to get your jewelry that you want me to promote for you for free. And so 99% of those messages just immediately get blocked. I stopped reporting them a long time ago because Instagram doesn't do jack shit about anything. So, but I was like, all right, well, we'll see what it is. And I clicked over and it was this gentleman I was not familiar with by the name of Philip Trudel. And he wanted to let me know that I missed this song on the Come Taste the Band season called Same in LA. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So people are knowing about this song that I completely skipped over. And I have said on the show before, maybe not enough, or maybe there just hasn't been anything else. If I have missed a track, please, by all means, let me know. I want this to be a very comprehensive podcast. I want it to cover everything the band recorded in the studio. That, and I don't know if this is a finished song. I've read a little bit about it and it's a little bit controversial. So we'll see when we get into it. But if they recorded something in the studio other than just a jam, like if the song has a structure, if it's, potentially meant to be released, then yeah, I want to cover it for sure. So yeah, this is the first one that I may have actually missed. So I'm excited to get into it. And thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, Philip, for letting me know about this track. Very, very important. Also, to follow up very quickly on my Under the Gun episode, I had a couple people follow up with me and let me know that the piece in the middle of Under the Gun that I said, this has got to be a theme to something. It sounds familiar. I know I've heard it before. Let me know what it is. I had a couple people write in and let me know that it is the Land of Hope and Glory. And I listened to it. I'm like, you're absolutely right. That's what it is. It should have come to mind. But, when you're listening to one song and you're trying to think of a different song, it's a lot for your brain to try and do all that at once while you're recording a podcast and focusing on all the stuff in the music. And I couldn't come up with it when I was recording the episode. So thank you guys. Also, Nate from the Deep Purple podcast this morning sent me a clip from Sir Edward Elgar and a piece called Pomp and Circumstance March Number 1, which also has the same part in it. So who did what first? I have no idea. But he said, this is your instrumental break from Under the Gun. Listen to it. He's absolutely right. Thank you, everyone who reached out and let me know about that. Also made me very happy that people are actually listening to what I'm saying on the podcast and connecting with that and helping me out. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And hopefully there isn't anything else that I've missed. But if there is, for the love of all creatures, great and small, do let me know. Now, I say we just get into this song because I really am excited to hear something else from Mark IV, for one, and what the potential could have been for another song that didn't make the album. So let's check it out, guys. Here it is, Same in LA by Deep Purple. Okay, so right off the bat, the very first thing that came to my mind is that this song has been released, or at least a version of it. Obviously, I have no idea where the song goes from here, but just listening to this opening, which sounds great, by the way, I think the sound is fantastic. I have not listened to any of the rest of this 35th anniversary edition yet, but if these are the mixes that we're going to get for the other songs, I have to say I'm impressed because this sounds really good. But so I do think that a version of the song has been released. There was a song on the Saints and Sinners album by Whitesnake, which was performed in part by John Lord, Ian Pace, and David Coverdale, all three on that album, all three on this album. And the song from Saints and Sinners is called Love and Affection. So check that out. It is very similar. Obviously not the exact same song, but just in this main opening riff here, very similar. You know, these backing vocals even sound like something that would come from Whitesnake. I'm trying to think of a song, and nothing's really coming to mind. Probably something off of Trouble. I don't know. I'll let you know if I think of it. But very similar backing vocals to what Whitesnake would do in the earlier days when they were more of a rhythm and blues band before they got into big hair and speed playing solos. It's nice how I like it. I don't know what the words would have been. Obviously, they haven't laid down a lead vocal track. We're just getting backups. Not sure. I mean, I'll have to go back and listen to it a couple times to figure out what's what. But I like the accent in there in the opening riff. And that is something that I think they incorporated a little bit into Love and Affection as well. But this feels good. I like the song. I like where it's going. Again, you know, singing about LA, all right, whatever. But musically, it sounds really good. Vocals sound really good, too. I like that they're not repeating the same thing at the end of each phrase. Like they don't end with that accent both times. They change it up a little bit. Again, always keeping it fresh and interesting, which I have the greatest appreciation for. And I like that part Tommy was playing in the beginning part of this clip where he was just following along with the drums, actually. When do guitarists ever do that? He's playing the shuffle, which is really neat. You know what's interesting, and I noticed this from the very beginning of the opening. I just kind of forgot about it in all the excitement of hearing something new. One of the things I did say about several of the songs through the Come Taste the Band season is that I felt that the drums were very dry sounding. You listen to the toms, they're fairly dead. They sound nice and alive here. They're vibrant. Yes, they cut through, so the volume level might be a little too high. We'll have to see as I go through the other songs and see what I feel about the balance of sound, but they sound alive again, and I really like that. Again, I haven't listened to anything else. This is the first I'm hearing of anything on this album, so I don't know if the rest of the remixes sound this way, but I'm going to guess that they probably do. Also, I noticed that bass-wise so far, I haven't really heard much from Glenn, and I'm wondering if this is Glenn on bass or if somebody else is jumping in, because I don't know if Glenn was there for this writing session or what, but he's playing very straightforward, not throwing in the typical Glenn things. He's really just playing along with the shuffle. So not sure if this is Glenn or Tommy on bass, maybe. There is something a little bit weird going on with the drums because it sounds like Ian Pace is faintly riding a crash cymbal through that whole part. It's just kind of like a sound wash, but then you also hear him hitting what sounds like a very tightly closed hi-hat. It doesn't sound like he's hitting a ride that's large. He usually plays like a 20-inch ride, I think, or 22 maybe. and I'm not sure what he was playing in 74, but always played larger cymbals. And if he was playing on the, closer to the edge than the bell, you're going to get somewhat of that same color wash. So it sounds like almost like that's what he's playing, but the hit is so dead. It sounds like a very tightly closed hi-hat. So I'm not really sure what he's doing to achieve that sound. I like the overall sound of it, but I'm not sure what he's actually doing to get there, or if it's something else that's causing that color wash that I'm not picking up on. Either way, it's very interesting, but I'm digging this song. Okay, so it has strayed very much from Love and Affection, or I should say Love and Affection strayed very much from this song, but I still feel like that opening riff, or the basic riff of the song, was inspired by this. It really seems more like a jam because there are no solos. There's only, so far we've heard very little in the way of backing vocals. So this really feels like something an idea they were jamming around, but it also does feel somewhat polished, like something they started to record and then they're just like, you know what, let's drop it. We don't need that song. We've got enough. This is our weakest one, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly why. I think the album's got probably enough songs on it where they didn't really need another one and something had to get cut. And so I don't know. There's very little I've read about the song at all. So whatever happened, though, it does feel a little bit unfinished, obviously, with no lead vocal. Clearly, there's the intention of having one. We've got the setup structure for a song with vocals more so than an instrumental. Also, so far, we haven't had any solos. We haven't had any overdubs or anything like that. So, none of those little sounds that Tommy would like to put in, none of those hanging notes. Glenn or whoever is on bass is playing very straightforward. So it does feel more like an idea that they just laid a demo version down to figure out what to do with, or maybe to give to David and Glenn and say, all right, guys, what do you want to sing about on this one? It's hard to say. I mean, it seems like they must have had some kind of idea where it was going lyrically, because we do have something very specific in those backing vocals. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. I can't imagine they would have written words and then just gone, okay, we don't need to record the words. We're not going to do it. It is possible. Who knows? Either way, it's a fun song. I'm enjoying it. I'm curious to see where it goes next, because obviously we're changing directions here. That was weird. Coming out of that fill, going back into the main riff at the end of that clip there, it does feel like they paused for just a slight second. It felt like it was edited maybe, or they came in off like something. I don't know. Something is a little weird about that. But great solo from John Lord. Really into the song. Organ sounds nice and strong in this mix, so I'm kind of hopeful that he's a little more upfront in the rest of these remixes and remasters. But I noticed that there was no backing organ track. So normally he's got, chords or something, even if it's far in the back, there's usually something he's played to thicken up the sound even underneath his own solos. And so they have to pan things in a way that the organ, especially if he's doing an organ solo over an organ background, they have to pan things so that they don't overlap each other too much. They also have to put the backing track very quietly in the background to give you the sound thickening qualities without necessarily the melodic qualities, so that it doesn't clash with the solo. Now, that being said, I don't hear anything underneath of this. Now, it is that kind of classic bluesy solo, like da 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 da, da 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 da, and then you got stuff happening in between, whether it's vocals or an instrument or something like that. It has that style to it. Now, that being the case, it goes back to the idea that this was more of a jam because we don't have those layers in there yet. Now, I would have thought that when they were recording, they would record all the backing tracks and then come in and overdub the solos. This is a little bit interesting insight that maybe sometimes, probably not always, but maybe sometimes they did it the opposite way. They did the solo while they're with the band. They've got that energy. And maybe this is part of the secret to why they work so well, is that they're in the middle of the jam with the band. They're not walking into a room that's just them with an audio engineer behind the glass and saying, okay, get back into the feeling of the song and record a solo. You're in the moment. You're with the band. Everybody's there. You're looking at each other. You're feeling that song unity and momentum and all that and the musicianship. So it makes more sense to record the solo live if you've got guys that are talented enough to do that. Now, certainly you could edit that out and have them do another solo over top of it later, but it makes more sense to have them do the solo in the moment and then come back and do the backing tracks later, right? Because you're going to get a better solo, I would think. You're in the middle of the song. You don't have to reconnect with it or pick it up or pick up the tempo again or whatever. You're in it already. So that's going to be the time that you're going to give your best performance. That's what I would think. When I record, of course, I don't record with a band. I mean, when I'm recording my stuff, I track everything myself. So it's easy for me to just play the solo as I'm going with the song. If I've listened back to it and I'm not happy with it, I might go back and do a different one and then just pick and choose which one I like the best. But normally I record the solo with the song. So thinking again, like I'm in that moment, I'm in the context of the song, I've got that energy and everything going, I'm connected to it. Best time to do a solo that's going to feel related to the song. Now that I'm thinking about it, because I have mentioned some songs where I felt Richie was not connected to the song. And I'm wondering now if those were ones where maybe he did that. Maybe he came back in after the fact to jump into the song and cut a new solo, or cut a solo because he didn't cut it at the time they were recording the band, together. Maybe that's why they don't sound connected to me. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any evidence to back that up. I don't know how it worked, but it is interesting to think about for sure. Anyway, we still got some song to listen to, so let's get back to it. It may seem a little awkward the way they're coming off of that accent, but I actually really like it. Thinking as a drummer, where you're hitting that pedal a couple of times, in a shuffle, you would normally, some people play it on the hat, some people play it on the kick. I actually like playing it on the kick better, but you would have ba-boom, ba-tap, ba-boom, ba-tap. And here he's going ba-boom, ba-tap, ba-boom, ba-tap, ba-boom, and then ba-boom, ba-tap again. And I really think that is so much fun. I don't know how many drummers would have played it that way. It does sound awkward, but it works well, I think. Now that I'm thinking about it, that part reminds me a little bit of Hold On, in that pre-chorus. But I'm kind of curious because it seems like if there were lyrics, these verses would be pretty short. Maybe I'm not placing where the verse would be properly, but the song seems to move very quickly from part to part. So it could be that maybe they had two different things that were going to play under the verse, which would be interesting. I'm not really sure. And again, we've only had that one backing line, so don't even know how that would play in with the rest of the song. It is a little bit weird hearing it in this context, but I like the sound of it. I have to say, it's got good energy. It's a lot of fun. Everybody's performing well. But it's interesting to hear Mark IV in a raw form. Yes, there was the Days May Come, Days May Go CD, and that's got some cool stuff on it, but that's really more jamming. This is like song in development or song being recorded as a potential final take. I'm not sure, But either way, this is a little more than a jam. It feels more planned out and structured and closer to final product. Well, that was interesting. Glenn kind of popping in a little more excited in this last section here, but just kind of, instead of just playing the shuffle, he was at least jumping the octave and going ba-boom, ba-ba, ba-boom, ba-ba, which was a little more interesting. But not the typical flashy bass that we've gotten on some other songs. So I don't know if he was still feeling out his part and just laid this down as a guide track or what, but it is a little bit mellow for Glenn, especially for a song that's got good energy in it like this one. Nice showing from John Lord. Definitely one of the highlights of this song. Ian Pace as well. Great stuff. I could see a lot of potential in this one, I have to say, and I'm kind of bummed that it didn't get a complete recording. But, at least we got something. We might have never heard this at all. Very possible. So overall, pretty cool track. I like that. At the end, it sounded like somebody was in the next room drilling, and then Ian Pace is like, fine, and just drops his drumsticks on the snare and walks away. Don't know what that background sound was all about. Could have been an air conditioner or something. But in any case, yeah, I think it was a pretty cool track. What do you guys think of it? That's the most important thing. If you have the 35th anniversary of Come Taste the Band, the CD version, check it out, listen to it without me interrupting it, and, see how it makes you feel. I think it's got a lot of potential. I think it's kind of a bummer that we don't know what the song would have been about. Obviously something to do with LA, but who knows what. Could be an airport. It could be the cityscape. It could be the pollution. It could be the crowded highways. I mean, it could be absolutely anything, but we don't know. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this bonus episode. If there are any other studio recorded tracks that I missed, I'm not talking about alternate mixes or anything like that, because there's plenty of that stuff out there. I decided not to include some of the things that Roger included in the 25th anniversary editions, like the alternate take to Woman from Tokyo and that kind of stuff. Really just wanted, for the most part, to focus on the actual like studio final recordings and that, and not necessarily all the variations. I think the only one that I had to do that way was Hush, because that was on the Nobody's Perfect album, which was part of a live album that I wasn't going to cover. So I did that with Corey Morissette when we did the original Hush episode from the Shades of Deep Purple first season. Other than that, guys, if I've missed anything, please reach out and let me know. I hope that you're enjoying my season on Perfect Strangers. Hard to believe that was only album 12. I mean, when you think about it, it's like they accomplished so much before Perfect Strangers even happened, before they broke up. And yet it feels like the catalog was much bigger, but at the same time, yeah, 12 albums, and pretty amazing, actually. Well, and that's including the concerto, but pretty amazing when you really think about it. So yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And if you're listening on the weekend, if you're not realizing there's a new show out until Monday, happy Monday and welcome to 2 episodes, because there's the normal Monday episode and this bonus episode. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you have a great weekend. Cheers. Thanks for listening to Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast, a tour of the entire Deep Purple studio recordings. Please remember to give the show a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Leave a comment and tell your friends. I also have a Patreon set up if you'd like to support the show. You can also write to me at smokeonthepodcast@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and thanks for listening.